In Dead Rails, there are 12 unique classes with their own unique abilities. While some are just straight up broken, others are super useless and unnecessarily expensive. Today we'll be ranking all 12 classes from being the most clapped to being the most overpowered. Let's begin. For the absolute most clapped class, we got the Zombie. It costs 75 entire bonds, and the whole thing about it is that it can eat dead bodies for health but sacrifices being able to use normal healing items. It also can sneak around zombies a little easier than other classes, but that's about it. Let's go test it out. As you can see here, even after eating 3 entire zombies, I gained back not even a fraction of my health lost when fighting them. Bandages and snake oil just don't work at all. If we could also use healing items, this would make the class worth buying, but right now it's super clapped. Eating zombies while fighting is super impractical also. You won't have time to slow down and eat them during fights, since they take some time to consume, unlike snake oil and bandages. Grabbing them by horse is also impossible, since the game just won't let you. You won't be able to stop to eat, which makes this whole zombie thing useless. Overall, please just don't buy this class. It's a huge waste of bonds. Next up at number 11, we have the Miner. I know I said this is supposed to be underrated in a previous video, but looking at it again, it's pretty mid. You spawn with 2 coal, which allows you to safely drive to the next town in one burst and still have enough to buy a gun. But once you've used the 2 coal, it's almost completely useless from there on out. The pickaxe does the same damage as the shovel, if you're wondering, but it does have this pretty sweet headlamp which lets you fight at night with slightly less risk. But unless you voluntarily raid a town or a house at night like we are here, the headlamp doesn't really do much. No one's ever going to choose to raid something at night, since that's just really stupid to do, making the headlamp useless. You're still going to get brutally touched even if you can see the zombies a little better. Overall, it's not too bad for costing 15 bonds, but I'd recommend just saving for something better. Now at number 10, we have the Alamo. This is one of the first classes added into the game. You spawn with 3 metal sheets and 3 barbed wire, as well as a helmet on your head. At the start, it's honestly not horrible. If you build what I'm building here, where you block off the side windows and make a tiny gap at the cabin and put barbed wire around the edges, you can survive pretty much any night, which is honestly pretty useful at times. However, if you take the newspapers from spawn and put them on the train like I did here, it serves pretty much the same purpose. Alamo does spawn with a helmet, which does negate some damage, but honestly, it doesn't make the class much better. It doesn't have a passive ability either. So after you've used all the metal sheets and barbed wire, the class becomes completely useless. Honestly, it's not terrible early game, but I wouldn't recommend buying it. At number 9, we have the Priest. It costs 75 bonds and spawns with 2 crucifixes and 2 holy waters. Like the Alamo, it's also a relatively old class, being added 2 updates prior. Before the latest update, you could sell holy water for some money, but I believe it's patched now. Still, it's not terrible since these items are pretty hard to obtain early on. With some skill, you can wipe out a good portion of the town with the holy water, but it's really annoying to do with these sprinter zombies. Something else you can do is just throw a holy water on the ground and bait zombies towards you, since the lightning effect lasts for a good 15 seconds. I guess I didn't have enough health for this one, but I pretty much cleared the entire town with this class. You're also completely immune to lightning. As you can see, I stood here for an entire night and didn't even have a lightning bolt strike anywhere near me. This can be useful for the Tesla boss raid, since you can just run away without being struck by lightning. Overall, this class is mid at best due to its price. After you use up your crucifixes and holy waters, it's kinda useless since you can avoid thunder by simply sitting in your train. I wouldn't recommend buying this. At number 8, we now have the Arsonist. It's actually quite cheap, costing only 15 bonds. You spawn with 4 Molotovs, and 4 Molotovs only. If you're smart with how you use it, you can deal some pretty heavy damage to towns. However, this is probably more difficult to use than even holy water, making it mostly impractical unless you have a horse to bait together zombies with. Nonetheless, if you somehow get a horse before the first town, it's guaranteed that you can wipe it out easily. Overall, there's not really much to say about this class. It's really skill-based, but still is pretty solid as your first class. Next up at number 7, we have the Doctor. This is also really cheap like the Arsonist, only costing 15 bonds. You spawn with 2 snake oil and 2 bandages, which you used to be able to sell before this update, but not anymore. You also have the ability to revive a teammate without a bandage at the cost of half your health. That's mostly what makes this class even usable. The snake oil can be used to help wipe out the town, but can't do the job fully, while the bandages are mostly just used as reserves. It's quite difficult to wipe the town with this class, which is why this should mostly be used as a support. Generally speaking, passive healing is super useful. Most of the time, bandages are pretty hard to come by in the wild, so being able to revive your teammate on the spot is a pretty big deal. Not to mention how the 2 snake oil can get you out of most dangerous situations safely and heal you in the process. Overall, the starting loot for this class is very solid for how much it costs, and the passive ability is quite good. I would definitely recommend buying this if you have the 15 bonds needed for this class. Next up at number 6, we have the Highroller. It costs 50 bonds, and its entire ability is to be able to sell stuff at a slightly higher price than normal players. Due to this, you'll be able to buy a rifle at the start and even some coal as well. Generally, it's actually pretty good, but you also have a 10 times higher chance of being struck by lightning. Unless you're extra stupid and get caught outside during a thunderstorm, you'll be fine. Just be extra careful when playing this class not to be caught outside. Not much to say about this one. It's honestly a pretty solid class. Now at number 5, we have the Conductor. And like the Doctor, this is also mostly a support class. You spawn with 2 coal just like the Miner does, and you can also drive the train faster and more efficiently than normal players could. Matter of fact, it would only take 16 coal for you to drive to the end. However, it has a very major weakness. This class only has 50% of the health of the average player. As you can see, just after 3 hits, I'm already down to red and about to die. If you're gonna play this class, go with an Ironclad or a Doctor, since you'll be very prone to damage and will probably have to leave the fighting to your teammates. This could be a very solid class if you have smart teammates, but on its own, it's super fragile. If you have some friends who know how to play the game, I definitely recommend using this class, but if you're playing with randoms, try to stay away from it. At number 4, we have the Ironclad. For this class, you spawn with a full set of armor, but you walk 20% slower than normal. You can no longer sell the armor, but the armor still can do a lot. Even direct shots from bandits barely do any health, which can be good if you're trying to get a horse. As you can see, raiding this bandit camp was probably the easiest thing I've ever done. You're basically bulletproof from the start of the game. Horses can make this class so much better. It completely negates the speed nerf and keeps you almost invulnerable as always. Wiping a town couldn't be easier. However, remember to keep your distance from zombies, since they could be very dangerous if they stack up. Always try to have 1 snake oil on hand as well as plenty of ammo. Overall, this is a really solid class if you know how to play it right. Next up at number 3, we got the Cowboy. You spawn automatically with a horse, as well as a revolver with 2 ammo boxes. Using your gold, you can get an additional 2 ammo boxes and still have plenty for coal. This class was basically built to take on the town. You just need to simply bait together all the zombies in a line and start blasting. If done right, you can clear the first town with only the default loot. This can also be used for the Pony Express quest since you spawn with a horse, thus you wouldn't need to use the train. Overall, it's super good early game, helping you easily clear the first 2 towns, but it'll start losing its advantage later on, since horses would become easier to come by, and everyone would have a gun by then. It's also very well-rounded, doing well in both teams and solo games. I definitely recommend buying this if you have enough bonds. At number 2, we got the Survivalist. You spawn with this tomahawk only, which you can sell if you'd like. I'd recommend selling it and buying some extra ammo with the money. Its ability is to be able to deal extra damage when you lose health. This is actually way more broken than it sounds. If you land all headshots, you can kill a werewolf in only 3 shots with a revolver and 1 shot to all zombies. A rifle can almost 2-shot a werewolf, which is just way too broken. With the bolt-action rifle or navy pistol, you can 1-shot a regular zombie by shooting only its arm. This has the highest damage output out of any class in the game, however you'd almost constantly have low health. Try to prioritize getting healing items like bandages and snake oil. This is pretty decent in solo games, but it's way better in squads, since if you're fighting while low teammates can come and revive you easily if needed. Overall, this could be super broken, but it requires some skill in order to use all of its potential. I definitely recommend buying this if you're pretty good at the game. Now at number 1, we have the Vampire class. After the buff, it can now run even faster than a horse and can deal 40 damage per hit with the knife, but you take damage when you're under the sun. I would have put this at number 6, but after this buff, it's a very usable class. At the start, it is recommended that you buy bandages instead, since you lose health pretty easily under the sun. For this class, you'll need to be super aggressive in fighting, since you will slowly lose health unless you earn it back with your lifesteal knife. Try to not use guns, since they don't bring lifesteal like the knife would. Try to prioritize hospitals, since items such as snake oil and bandages are super important for this class specifically. This class can easily defeat a town if you play smart. Not even the sprinter zombies can keep up with the vampire. You can usually just run back and spam your knife and it'll work pretty good. At night, it becomes even better. You'll no longer need to use your knife, so if you have any sort of gun, you can start using it while dodging the zombies with your super speed. You'll be able to 3-tap zombies, and for vampires, you can kill them in 4 hits, which is still really good. However, this is extremely skill-based. Obviously, if you just charge into battle, you'll get cooked pretty badly. It's also recommended that you don't try to fight bandits, since there's not much you can do against a ranged weapon. Overall, this is one of the best classes in the game right now, since it's faster than even a horse and has crazy damage output. I guess some classes are simply built better than others. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe. That's about it for this one. Hope you enjoyed and have a nice day.